the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 12th, 2021 regular scheduled Fort Putnam City Council meeting in the Linda Hartog Council Chamber. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance, Lord's Prayer, and moment of silence for those serving and protecting our country.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Kate Philo.
here.
Pat Hovis. Here. Beth Gilman. Here. Roseanne Hickman.
Present.
Lisa Sabodian. Here. Mark Phillips.
Here.
And Jerry Trolley.
Thank you. Council, you previously received the September 28, 2021 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Hickman. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Trolley. I have a motion by Mrs. Hickman, seconded by Mr. Trolley, to accept the September 28, 2020 meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The chair notes the certification has been made regarding compliance with the rules and notifications of this meeting. And this evening, we have a guest presentation by Pogemeyer Design Group in relation to the infrastructure project funding status.
Yes. Thank you. I'm Doug Nusser with Pogemeyers. Been here once or twice previously, but I just wanted to introduce myself. We wanted to give you an update on where all of your projects are. You've got quite a few of them now. Hopefully the list is kind of tapered off and we're not going to be adding too much more to your plate, at least for a while. Hopefully you've got a handout. It should be 3 pages or 2 pages, 3 pages total front and back. Titled Infrastructure Project Cost Analysis. We provided this for the city back in July, and at that time we made adjustments to your project costs for inflation, which had not been taken into account, I think, since you began considering these projects in 2018, 2019. With some of the additions that have taken place and some of the funding sources that we continue to pursue, we thought we should give you another update on all of the projects as well as schedule on the infrastructure, water and sewer portion of your project. So starting with our project list, we have road improvements listed first. That is your street resurfacing, community-wide. We have that project cost currently at $7.6 million. Road relocation, that is related to the revetment replacement along Lakeshore Drive. That project is kind of still up in the air. We're trying to find funding sources for that one for you. And then your water and sewer improvements project, that's the largest component. Right now that stands at $20 million. And that one probably has seen the biggest increase since we began. Not necessarily for the addition of water and sewer components in that project, but we did add the revetment cost into that project, at least a portion of it, because we determined that part of the function for the revetment is to protect a large diameter force main that you have that runs along Lakeshore Drive. We talked to the funding sources and they said that they would consider the revetment a protection of that utility, so they are willing to, the one we're having most discussions with is willing to fund that revetment as part of your water and sewer. The most recent increase in that was probably about another $3 million and $2 to $3 million, and that was to completely reconstruct 3 streets as part of your water and sewer project. All of 4th Street is planning to be reconstructed service replacements was an addition to the project at $750,000. That portion of the project, we're fairly certain that that will be 100% covered by EPA money. They currently have, I think, $8 million in principal forgiveness or grant money available for the rest of this year. And then they intend to refund that program next year. We're hearing with another $10 million. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to take advantage of that grant money for the project as well. The next section would be the financing sources that we're currently considering for the project and revenue sources also. We currently have item for the ballot in November. That's your village for your resurfacing project, and that's anticipated to generate about $568,000 a year for 20 years to pay for the resurfacing project. Your user charge is your water and sewer fee that you approved, I think, earlier this year, or at the beginning of this year, and that's anticipated to generate a total of $713,000 over a 30-year period to pay off the loan source for the water and sewer portion. That would also cover the revetment project, as we just mentioned. You have secured a $1 million grant for the Lakeshore revetment. That was an ODOT grant, and we have started to have our scoping meeting with ODOT. We got put on hold, and we're trying to get that rescheduled so we can get that project moving forward as well. The major funding source we're looking at for the project is probably USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. They would offer a minimum of 30% grant, we believe, for the water and sewer portion.
it have to do with financing? Earlier statement, can I question, or do you want to wait until
No,
the end?
yes, questions.
Okay, you're talking about rebuilding 4th, 7th, and partial Washington. What about our other unfinished roads on the west end, or on the east end here? Linden and, it slipped my mind. What's,
The 300 block of all the tree streets.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unfinished as far as water.
They're basically
sewer.
dirt roads.
Dirt road.
Yeah, I mean.
They're part of the paving project.
Oh, that's,
Resurface.
Yeah.
okay, will that be
resurface.
curbs
Yeah.
and all that, everything?
Not necessarily
No.
curbs,
Yeah.
but the paving.
Just a paving?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
well, that's a start.
resurface.
Okay, thank you.
For that portion of the project, we intend to mill the existing surface down about an inch and a half or so. We'll put a scratch course on to try and fill the potholes and make, where extensive repairs are necessary, we'll have a full depth repair item. The scratch course will go on and hopefully re-level the street, and then the final course will be the finished portion.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Just, the last page is a revised project schedule. And this, I think, still remains pretty fluid. It'll be driven by some of the, could still be driven and changed by some of the funding sources we're still seeking. There's probably two sources we won't find out for sure about until after the first of the year, maybe towards the middle of the spring. So those would be the only delays, further delays that we would anticipate, unless there's another program that becomes available that is worth the while to pursue.
I've got another question. Why is Northwood Southern involved?
We do have two crossings off the railroad. Jefferson Street will be the biggest one. I think we have
Okay,
Yeah, the underpass, overpass. We do have to go through those. That is their right of way, so we do need their approval.
okay.
And we're just getting started on the submittal drawings for them. We did do a similar crossing for the Madison Street project. Actually, went pretty well, I thought, compared to some of the issues we've had with railroads in the past. So hopefully, they're not a hold up on the project.
Thank you.
So in a nutshell, we do hope to have engineering completed in January for submittal to EPA. There'll be some other odds and ends that we'll continue to work on then, probably until May, when we would start to advertise for bids, hopefully, depending on again how things go with potential funding sources between now and then. And then construction would hopefully start in September sometime. We would anticipate about 12 to 15 months for construction on the project. And that's with the contractor coming in with one or two crews. In the past, we have had the contractor come into a project like this, and he's thrown as many as five or six crews at it. That could shorten the construction period substantially, but we really don't have any control of that until it happens. Any other questions?
And then there is a public meeting on the 14th at the Performing Arts Center.
This is Greg Gillespie, you've seen on the deck.
Thank you. Just a couple more things to add to what Doug told you. We also, I think as we had, I know when originally when Mayor Snyder took office, the ad was focused on this project. I know we came to council right away and council embraced it. And one of the things that we talked to you all about was continuing to look for funding throughout the life of the project. So we continue to do that. So here's some other funding sources that we're in the process of pursuing to help address, to lower your local share. And I think the important thing is, like the first two sources I'm going to identify are programs that didn't even exist. I think when we first started talking about this was 2019. It was the summer of 2019 when we started a lot of public meetings. Well, the first two sources I'm going to identify to you didn't even exist in 2019. So these are new programs that's been on the scene. The first is, this program just came into effect in June through the state. So it's in House Bill 168. It was $250 million of water and sewer money that the state, through their budgeting process, identified and made available, and Doug provided them out. So we agreed $3 million that we're waiting for this project that we're waiting to hear back from that. Those applications went in the end of August, I think, and hopefully we'll be hearing about that this fall. The next is the federal infrastructure program that's been talked about throughout the summer. President Biden and Congress that are all wrestling with all that. And presuming there's no major changes to that, as I understand, Ohio is scheduled to get $1.4 billion over a 5-year period for water and sewer. So again, that's something that will be, so it's not here yet, but it will most likely in 2022. So we'll continue to monitor that program. And I think what's important is when Doug, regarding that program, as Doug talked about the schedule, so we're looking to, potentially go to construction fall of next year on this. As this federal stimulus money or federal infrastructure money would get here, your project would be very much viewed as shovel ready, and that really enhances your opportunity to pursue grants. So timing wise, it's perfect. So let's just hope that they don't, Washington continue to move it along, and eventually it gets passed and gets out to everybody. So those are two. The third one is on your funding sources that Doug talked about. You see this USDA grant, 30% grant. The thing to keep in mind is we purposely put that at 30 because that's the minimum they do. But depending on their funding sources are depending on their funds they have available, there's times that could be as high as 35 or 40%. So it's our hope and maybe belief that 30% will actually go up. But when we calculate everything, we calculate at the lowest value. So if anything, it's to the good if that goes up. We also are hoping to hear first quarter of next year. We pursued a federal grant for $1 million from the Corps of Engineers. There's a federal 594 funds. That's kind of technical stuff, but so those decisions will be made in the first quarter of 2022, and that's $1 million. And we are also evaluating an EDA program, new EDA programs that came out this summer to determine if there's an applicable program for you to do all that. And lastly, it was mentioned that we would have a public meeting on Thursday that would be addressing the public. And I spent the afternoon in the dentist chair, so I feel like my face is about this big. And anyway, so hopefully I didn't slur my words too much. Thank you.
No more than usual.
Does the council have any additional questions? You are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We'll move on to public comments.
Don Rodwansi, 4512 East Peachton Drive.
Hello, everyone. My concern is area in Grove Street intersection for two reasons. One, the traffic mayhem that happens there, and the increase of traffic crossing, not going up to the jet light. So you've got the mob traffic coming down toward the gristmill. You've got the parking people that are over in the old community markets parking lot coming across there all the time. We see now that we're there a lot of close calls, a lot of people crossing, jaywalking. It's a dangerous intersection. It's a major thoroughfare for Brooklyn police going to the east side of or the west side of the city. I just was wondering if it was part of this program, if it had been on the radar, if it's been addressed at all in any way.
It's not being addressed with this program, but the chamber, through one of their programs, is looking at reconfiguring that intersection. Again, these things don't happen overnight, unfortunately. They've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years now, working with another engineering company at alternatives. Through Pogemeyer, last spring, the city applied for, help me out fellas, with the traffic lights, enhanced traffic lights. And the Jet Express location was one of those. It was turned down by ODOT, but again, this fall, we're going to reapply. And we believe, after the conversation they've had with ODOT, that there will be an enhanced traffic light, so at least the traffic light will be more visible at that crosswalk at the jet. I know it doesn't address any of the traffic concerns. Part of the resurfacing project will include striping, and that's been one of the big issues in that intersection. It's not clearly marked. Our guys have done some things on Monroe Street. And have they been out on Perry?
They have, but it's fading again.
It's fading again. So we're aware of it, and it's just a matter of trying to find the funds and the right pot of money to make it happen. And what the ultimate solution is, because it is a crazy 5-point intersection with a curve and a ferry boat line right there. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to move on to executive officers' reports. This evening, council listed in correspondence is the Ohio Division of Liquor Control application for a new permit for Clinton Knights of Columbus Home Association, 109A East Erie Street, Fort Clinton, Ohio. There's no objection from the police department, the chief on this, so the council would like to take action on that this evening. And that announced the public meeting for the infrastructure, but also there's a public meeting for the proposed zoning changes. That is November 9th, 2021 at 5:30 here in Fort Clinton, City Hall Chambers. And that's all I have. Mayor Snyder.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I'd like to thank the crew from Kogemeyer for coming over from Bowling Green. We've made several trips over there. They've been very, very instrumental in getting us in front of a whole bunch of different folks, from ODOT to Representative Capter's office to get this thing going. One of the things they didn't touch on, they're constantly looking at alternate funding sources for this. You know, we've talked about this before, but with the water treatment, the regional water treatment plant, there were 23, 24 different funding sources up to and shortly after construction started. The issue that we're dealing with is some of these funding sources, especially these new ones, don't have the parameters set up yet. And any delay we have in construction adds about 1.5% annually to this cost. Materials are appreciating even before all the craziness over the past couple months at about 5% annually. So at a $20 million project, there's another $1.5 million that adds on. So if the funding source will cover that, great, but if it doesn't, it just opens up another can of worms. Plus, I'm tired of getting phone calls, when is this going to start? But that's another story. Moving on here, again, thank you guys for making the trip over here, and again, they'll be here later this week. Curbside brush pickup, this is the last week for that. It started today, moving west to east and then north and south. Put your materials out on the curb. Once they're finished, they'll take all the equipment, convert it over to leaf pickup. Leaf pickup will again start as soon as the leaves start falling in sufficient numbers to justify picking them up at the curbside. They also began flushing hydrants this week, so if you drive around town and notice a hydrant flowing water, or if you go home and turn on your faucet and it's cloudy water, run the cold water for a few minutes until it clears up, and again, that will be going on throughout this week. The citywide cleanup, one in the spring, one in the fall, it's this weekend, Saturday the 16th here at City Hall out in the parking lot from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. There will be city crews on hand to help load the materials into the dumpsters, but again, unfortunately, because of COVID issues, they won't be able to move things out of the car or off of the trailer into the front end loader. So ask a neighbor or whatnot to help out. The walkway project along the east bank of the Portage River is progressing nicely. They are still coming across sections of the original wood diversion channel, whatever you want to call it. That's what that pile of wood is up on the high ground that gets dumped every now and then. So if you want a piece of history, go ahead and grab one of the circa 1880s, that stuff. Weather permitting, and if the grass stops growing like it's May 10th, the crews are going to be working on the Santa House on Adams Street. I think it's found a permanent spot. They'll be putting in a concrete pad, some sidewalks, adding some electric for heat, so Santa doesn't freeze his tuchus, because I personally know from having conversations with Santa, it gets pretty cold in that Santa House in December. Mom, the stage is coming down this week. There was a slight delay today. The
fellow that was going to oversee that is home ill, not COVID related. But then again, the stage is coming down. This weekend, there's an event in the Mom area to bring awareness to domestic violence. That's why you see all the purple around downtown. Then next week, the barricades and picnic tables will be removed, and the street will be opened up for vehicular traffic once again until next spring. And just to put all the rumors to bear, I've had 3 people in the past 4 or 5 days stop me. No, the city is not flooding the 100 block of Madison Street to put in a skating rink. But I will tell you that I have had conversations with a couple of different groups about trying to acquire a skating rink to put out there during the winter time to keep Mom as an annual event. Yes, the police department has a skating rink, but it requires Mother Nature to be below 32 degrees. And if you look at the past couple of years, we have 5 days of skating and 90 days of a really cold pond. So what we're trying to do is find chillers, find a way of paying for those. At minimum, it's $100,000 to $125,000. So it's not anything that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, but I am trying to find options and sources out there. So hopefully someday, knock on wood, Mom will be a year-round activity with skating once the stage goes away. Moving on here, trick-or-treating this year. I know everybody in this room is so excited about trick-or-treating. In downtown Port Clinton, it will be on Saturday, October 30th from 1 to 4. And then the adult trick-or-treating, also known as the pub crawl, will take place that same day from 4 to 9 p.m. And that's being organized by Carolyn Rodenauer at the Clinton House. So if anyone has any questions about the details, stop by the Clinton House or give the Clinton House a call. The next day then, on Sunday the 31st, from 6 until 8 p.m. will be the neighborhood trick-or-treating. So get the bags of candy, turn your lights on, and pass out candy. CDC recommendations are, yes, trick-or-treat. Use safety precautions, be smart, just follow what the internet says, and you'll be fine. The Eddie Adams exhibit down at the Art Garage is continuing until the 14th. Again, if you haven't seen it, or members of the audience, I would encourage you to go down and take a look. Go to their website for the hours. It's pretty neat to have something like that in little old Port Clinton, Ohio. Now, we know it's not for another 10 days or so, but the annual Port Clinton Oak Harbor football game is coming up. It'll be next Friday here in Port Clinton. You've got to get by Huron first, and by the way, if we should win, when we win Friday night, first time we'll be SBC champions in football. So there you go. But I have a gentleman's bet with the mayor of Oak Harbor, Quentin Babcock, that, and we've done this the past couple of years, the mayor of the losing school has to provide pizza for the senior football players and senior cheerleaders of the winning school. And I'm sick and tired of driving west on 163. So hopefully this is the year that Mayor Babcock will have to bring pizza this way. Again, Huron this week, and then Oak Harbor next week. And I also learned earlier today that the girls soccer team, if they win tomorrow night, it's the most wins ever in the history of the girls soccer program. And the girls tennis team also just won the SBC. So congratulations to all the fall sports. This Thursday, which has been mentioned a couple times, at 6 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center is another performance just like what you just saw, with a little bit more background to bring everybody up to speed on how we got to this point and moving forward with respect to the infrastructure project. And as you can see, we use the term infrastructure project as one big project, but in reality it's 5 or 6 independent projects coming together with different funding sources to improve the community. And then finally tonight, those of you that know my father know that he walks all over town 6 to 8 miles a day. If you happen to see him over the next couple of days, give him an extra toot, an extra wave. He turns 76 on Saturday. So with that, thank you very much, Madam President.
Council, any questions for the mayor? Treasurer's report.
The bed and dock taxes are coming in well. Big thanks to Sandy. Bed to date, $230,568.16. Dock taxes to date, $28,637.96.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Law Director?
Nothing tonight, Madam President, thank you.
Mr. Colston, anything additional?
Yeah, the Mayor covered pretty much everything there, but the H2O program, we've had no add-on since the last time I reported, and there was only 4 people that called to have any questions or comments. We still have the extortion on the bill thing from a guy, the same person, and then one person didn't understand. Julie tried to explain it to her, and I think she finally figured it out. So other than that, that's all I would have to report. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Colson from council?
Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry. We are going to do with Mrs. Gilman, were you going to speak to that?
No, go ahead, Mr.
Okay. We have a dumpster out at West End. It'll be at the park and help out. They're going to get community members. We'll have our loader out there, the same type here, to clean up some of this stuff in some of the homes that are in disarray out there. So I wanted to pass that out. So Thursday, if anybody wanted to help volunteer, you certainly can. I told Mr. Horn is kind of the ringleader out there that we would be out there roughly between 7:30 and 7:45. And they're going to go around and throw it in our loader, and we'll dump it in the dumpster. And the dumpster will be out of there Friday morning. So I won't have to for the weekend, no. Thank you, Madam President.
Thursday
Sorry.
evening though, correct? Is the dumpster going to be there all day?
It'll be there all day Thursday, but Friday morning it will go
Yeah,
away.
okay.
So.
Thank you. Committee reports. Mr. Velo, Finance?
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee recommended approving the 2 pieces of legislation up for their 3rd reading, Ordinance 24 and Resolution 9. We're going to talk about later, but that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything for economic and community development?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Environment and Public Works? Mrs. Simmons? Thank you. Parks and Cultural, Ms. Gilman?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. Safety Services, Ms. Phillips?
Nothing, thank you.
Council, under correspondence, as I previously said, it's a liquor control application, new permit. Does council wish to take any action as to the new permit this evening?
Madam President,
Mr. Velo?
I move to waive council's right to object to the hearing to the liquor control permit.
I will second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Velo, seconded by Ms. Phillips, to waive objecting to the new permit for the Knights of Columbus. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Does council wish to take any further action as to correspondence this evening?
Madam President, I move to approve correspondence dealing with the Knights of Columbus Home Association.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilman. I have a motion by Ms. Phillips to approve the correspondence and a second by Ms. Gilman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to ordinance and resolutions. The 3rd reading of ordinance 24-21. The clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 24-21.
Ordinance 24-21, an ordinance amending ordinance number 4-21 of the City of Port Clinton and adjusting accounts within the City of Port Clinton.
Does council wish to take any action as to ordinance 24-1?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Velo.
I move to approve ordinance 24-21.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Trolling. Any discussion? I have a motion by Mr. Velo, seconded by Mr. Trolling, to approve ordinance 24-21. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Margaret Phillip,
Yes.
Roseanne Hickman,
Yes.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Dave Velo,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Lisa Sabodian,
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Ordinance 24-21 is hereby adopted. 3rd reading of resolution 21-9. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only resolution 21-9.
Resolution 21-9, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action as to resolution 21-9?
Madam President,
Mr. Velo.
I move to approve resolution 21-9.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I have a motion by Mr. Velo, seconded by Ms. Phillips, to approve resolution 21-9. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Roseanne Hickman.
Yes.
Lisa Sabodian.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Gabe Velo.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0, and resolution 21-9 is hereby adopted. I'm going to move on to second reading. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only, ordinance 26-21?
Ordinance number 26-21, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to enter into an LPA federal local-led project agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, a memorandum of understanding, an agreement addressing the responsibilities of the parties, and a grant co-administrated agreement between the City of Port Clinton and Put in Bay Boat Line Company, an Ohio corporation operating under the trade name of Jet Express, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action this evening as to ordinance 26-21? Seeing none, ordinance 26-21 will be moved to its third reading on October 26, 2021. And we have no first readings this evening. We'll move on to business from the floor. Mrs. Hovis? Thank you. Mr. Trolley?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Eckman? Mrs. Gilman?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. Mrs. Lodian? Nothing tonight. Thank you. Ms. Phillips?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be sorry to see Mom, and I know it's not always busy, but there tend to be a lot of people milling around downtown, so it's not something that we should forget about. I'm glad to see it coming back next year. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Velo?
Nothing, Madam President.
Thank you. Seeing no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move this August body adjourn.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hickman. I have a motion by Ms. Phillips, second by Mrs. Hickman to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.